very good afternoon from here, Walton Home, for the start of a brand new series of Tommyfield Live, which has had a bit of a facelift. Now, many listeners will know that Oldham Community Radio's popular Chance to Meet programme, which has been on air for many years now, and has introduced many personalities from many backgrounds in our Desert Island Discs type format. The programme's been absent for some time, so with our new live Saturday broadcasting, it seemed not, well, too inappropriate to incorporate a chance to meet at this time. Over the coming weeks, we've lined up a host of guests from the worlds of local entertainment, business and politics, all of whom have a fascinating story to tell. Plus they get to play their favourite musical tracks as well. So not so much a desert island, more a safe harbour for an hour's worth of music and conversation from our Oldham Community Radio theatre stage. And a reminder that if you want to put a face to any of the voices, then do head to www.mixcloud.com and you can search for Oldham Community Radio. Well, now then, we were scheduled to have our station manager David McGealy. However, due to some unforeseen circumstances, he's not here in the flesh. As if you can see, if you're watching us live online, there's an empty chair. But don't worry, we will be filling that in due course. But for the moment, I am delighted nonetheless that Dave can join us on the line right now. Good afternoon, Dave.
Good afternoon, Ian.
It's lovely to have you here virtually. We mentioned unforeseen circumstances, and I know that you would have loved to have been here, but a little bit of illness has precluded you from doing that.
I was so excited. I've been awake all night waiting for it. And we have to have this. Eh? Oh dear me.
It kept you up all night, did it? Oh dear.
It kept me up all night. And anyway, but that's all history now. We've moved on from there.
Well,
so
excellent.
Let's see what we're doing. I'll cut it all down, will it, if that's okay with you, because you say I've only got 5 minutes. And you know me, Ian, I can talk for about 3 days non-stop on community radio and the benefits of it. So I'll just home it down to a few words, should I?
Well,
I was born in Fallowfield, South Manchester.
We'll try and rein you in, Dave. We'll try and rein you in. I suppose,
not too tight on those reins.
I suppose what we were originally going to do, obviously, was to start with your life story from being a very small boy right up to the present. But we'll park that idea for another day when you're able to be with us live in the studio. But for the moment, tell us a little bit about how you became involved in community radio here in Oldham.
Well, I didn't get involved in community radio initially. There wasn't any community radio in Oldham. But I did get involved with Radio Cavell, which is the hospital radio. And if you like, I'd like to say that's where I cut my teeth, so to speak, with that, because we did there, and it was okay. We got to play records, but they were all chosen by the patients in the hospital. And so it wasn't quite what I wanted personally out of it, because I wanted other people to be listening in and to be getting their pleasure rather than me getting my pleasure out of it. So we had to do something about that. And the thing that jumped out at us was that up at the Lees and Fawcett ward at the old Royal Infirmary, there was the motorcyclists. And there were always, whenever you went there on a Friday night, there was always people in there with their legs up on traction, hanging up off the bed thing over the bed and that. And it was like, right, so wait a minute, why are all these in here? And it turned out that they were there from because of the music they listened to, which I'll come back to in a second. I think I better add. Oh yeah. Right. So it was. We got interested in trying to expand a little bit off the paper. They're not just me, the whole Radio Cavell team, because it's not about one person. If there's only one person doing it, then it's not going to go anywhere. But as it was, there was a group of us that were interested in pushing the radio boundaries to a different area, and that's where we introduced narrowcasting. And narrowcasting was where, instead of being a broadcaster where you spread it wide, we targeted a specific audience. Where did that come from? These blokes hanging up on the track section in the Lees and Fawcett ward. They were there. They wanted every week or every night. They wanted to finish off the request programme with meatloaf and Bat Out of Hell. Now at first we thought, oh no, what? I can't do that at this time of night. But we could. They enjoyed it, and as much as you can dance about in your bed with your leg up in traction, that's what they did. They enjoyed it, and we thought, that's good. Let's see if we could do other things where we target specific audiences. Therefore, we introduced Oldham Healthy Broadcasting. The clue's in the name. It was about broadcasting healthy messages and healthy stories and trying to get people fitter and healthier. It was good. We did it. It was great. Never mind good. The other thing, what else did we do? Oh, that was Oldham Healthy Broadcasting. We then did Radio Latics, which was, yes, you've guessed it, Oldham Athletic. That was, we did the stuff for them, broadcast their matches, and people enjoyed it. The thrill I had when I walked past somebody parked up in a car in the Royal Oldham Hospital. They were parked up there, and they were sat in the car listening to our broadcast. I felt really brilliant. I felt, great, we've got it right here. This narrow casting idea is going to work. We tried it out again. World War II radio, You guess what it's about? Yep, the title gives you the game away. World War II radio. And VJ Day radio the year after. Yeah, we tried them both. Just short periods of time, 7 days or 10 days sometimes that they were, or sometimes just a weekend. But they were all targeting specific audiences. The Oldham Healthy Broadcasting, Radio Latics, that Oldham Healthy Broadcasting, well, it was, we broadcast from the old town hall. They shut it down. They loaned us the keys. Here, have the keys, you can broadcast from there. That was brilliant of them. We really did appreciate that, because it gave us a place in the town centre. We were giving coffees away. Oh, yeah, come in, have a cup of coffee with us. Let's have a chat with you. It was great. We're not
doing that here, Dave. But as you say, it was a very carefully sort of crafted path towards community radio. We're going to save all these wonderful stories that you have, this plethora of experience from 5 decades in broadcasting here in Oldham, until you can actually come here in the flesh to chat with us on the stage. So we're just keeping an eye on technicalities now. You mentioned Meatloaf, Bat Out of Hell. We're going to play that for you, but can I just say, for the moment, David McGealy, who's our station manager and director at Oldham Community Radio, thank you very much for being our first chance to meet guest. Lovely to have you, on the line, Dave. Take care, get well soon, and here's Meatloaf. And we're back with Tommyfield Live Chance to Meet on this Saturday morning, the first of a brand new series, and it's lovely to be here. Thanks very much to Dave McGealy for jumping on the line. It was such a pity that he couldn't be here in the flesh, but as we've said, we will have a chance to meet him one of these fine days, so listen out for that. I suppose I'm from someone with a huge amount of experience in community radio to somebody who joins me now, Martin Byrom. Welcome.
Hello.
To the programme. To somebody who really hasn't had that much experience in what we do at Oldham Community Radio, other than the fact that you came along just before the end of last year and helped out in one of our Ambition for Ageing Oldham projects. How did you hear about Oldham Community Radio?
In the first place, at the initial launch of it, really, going right back to the beginning. I don't know how long ago that was.
So when we actually first started?
We first started up, and you had a meeting in Gallery Oldham. I was one of the first people there.
But you were slow in coming forward then. It took you a long time to summon up the courage. Would that be reasonable, or
no, not really, because originally I was on something that was called New Voices.
Oh.
When that was originally launched, Dave McGealy, I was on a course that I don't know if it actually faded out, but there was a few. I do remember that. Never mind.
It was a memorable experience.
It's a memorable experience, but I can't remember it.
Often the case. A lot of water under the bridge. So when you came to the station at Christmas, this was a very specific targeted project that we had over at St James's Ward, and I know that you were here along with Tim, who's in the audience today, and Stuart's here as well. Graydon who was the fourth compadre, so to speak. If he's listening, get well soon to Grain. I know he wanted to be here too today, but there must be something in the air. Anyway, notwithstanding, so the four of you put together this project. What did you get out of it yourself, Martin? How did you go about coming up with that very memorable wireless programme edition that we did?
Well, what I got out of it was coming across aware of other people's talents, I suppose, really.
Yeah.
And I suppose if you want a job, do it yourself, I suppose.
Ah, yes. Did you pick up a lot of skills along the way that you perhaps didn't have beforehand? You know, because I know obviously we thrust you out into the wide universities, Oldham, St James's Ward, and said, right, go and talk to politicians. I mean, have you got any experience of doing things?
None at all. No.
What was it like to be faced with somebody who's used to public speaking?
Quite daunting, but I got my head round it, I think.
You might agree with me sometimes that when you do these little projects, people don't often know what goes on in the background. It's not just a case of talking to somebody and it going out on the radio, but there's a lot of background work. So things, sort of technical things you might have learned in radio sort of circles.
Obviously I'd like to learn more in that department, because I'd like to come back and maybe present my own programme if I get the chance to do that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yes, I'd like to do more hands-on technical, because I'm totally...
so everybody learns a new skill.
Everybody learns a new skill.
That's what it's all about. And if you were to sort of use this platform now, and it is literally a platform, we're on the radio theatre stage, aren't we?
We are.
With our shiny new sparkly curtain, have you noticed?
No, I can't say how.
It's amazing what you can get on eBay these days for a couple of quid.
It looks like something off the Generation game, doesn't it? You know, like
so if you could put a message out there to people to sort of who are thinking about, I don't know, coming along to find out what Oldham Community Radio does, and this kind of thing, what would you be encouraging, or would you say, oh, don't do that? They're a real bunch of reprobates there.
Well, they are a bunch of reprobates, yes, but I'd still say come along, definitely. Yes, you will get something out of this.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it.
Fantastic.
I mean, the friends I've made with Stuart and Graydon, Tim, it was a good experience. You felt like you're in it together, working as a team, and we all found out what we were good at, I suppose.
Yeah, everybody's got different talents, and you can't say strengths and weaknesses these days. It's not politically correct, but everybody's got a contribution to make.
There's no doubt about that. Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah. Lovely to have this short conversation with you, Martin.
And you.
We're offering everybody that comes on the programme a chance to have a favourite piece of music, and I know you've already picked this. You didn't have any hesitation. But
no, it was the same piece of music that I had on the St James's Ward programme. I actually picked this out. I was given the chance to play it.
And tell us what it is, and we'll play it.
It's Georgie Fame, and it's Sitting in the Park.
Thank you, Martin.
Thank you.
Welcome back to Tommyfield Live, chance to meet here on Oldham Community Radio 99.7 FM. It's Ian Woolson home with our hour of live chat with usually one person. If you've been looking on the table, if you're looking online on our live feed, you might have noticed some things here which we were going to chat to our station manager Dave McGealy about, how he, on behalf of Oldham Community Radio, successfully acquired a gold certificate as a Station of the Year. But again, all those little clues will cross with Dave in the fullness of time. Thank you to Martin Byrom for chatting with me before the break. And I'm delighted to be joined by, well, it's a lady who's often referred to as lovely by many, particularly on Oldham Today presenters. A familiar voice on the end of the phone on Mondays and Tuesdays. The lovely Anne Meridith.
The lovely Anne, indeed.
Welcome to the programme, Anne.
Autographs will be available later.
Yes, well, all right then. I hope you're charging appropriately for it. So, as I say, now you tend to keep yourself very much behind the scenes, don't you?
Oh, yeah.
But you've been doing that for what, 8 years plus?
Yeah,
now?
approximately 8 years. Time goes so quickly, you forget, don't you, really, how long it's been.
Is that just all? No, I can't say that with the lovely Anne Meridith being here. No. But I'm sure people would like me to ask you, aside from answering the phone so delightfully that you do, hello, Oldham Community Radio, Anne speaking, what do you do when you're not here?
When I'm not here?
What sort of things do you get up to? How does Anne Meridith fill her time?
Well,
because I know you do a lot of volunteering, don't you, apart from...
Well, yeah,
apart from
I have
here.
changed a lot recently.
Tell us, I seem to remember that only very recently, in fact, didn't you get a very long service award for life
I did,
share?
yeah.
Tell us about that.
I've been a volunteer with several organisations over many years, but I've recently received a long service award with Life Share for 30 years involvement. Life Share is the oldest Manchester charity which supports the homeless. So I've done late night soup runs in Piccadilly Gardens, I've done early morning breakfast runs, and at Christmas I unfortunately put my name down to do 5 shifts at the Christmas project, which was based next to Victoria Station. What I hadn't realised was that 4 of those involved getting up at 4:30 to get to venue to cook breakfast ready for 7 o'clock. So that was a bit of a challenge. But it went very well. Maxine Peake's a long-standing volunteer with Life Share.
What, Maxine Peake, the actress?
Yeah, and she was there on the day we opened, which was the 23rd of December. And she was putting up the decorations, and I went, Maxine, stick to acting, I don't think you've got a future as an interior decorator.
She could have rearranged our sparkly curtain a little bit.
Delightful, I have to say. So she's written a book about, she's writing a play about Betty Boothroyd, which is going to be on the Royal Exchange later in the year. As well as that, I was very much involved with Samaritan's Purse. Samaritan's Purse is an organisation which sends shoeboxes to various parts of the world. So I was doing that for about 25 years, each year providing 100 toothbrushes, soaps, toys, and knitting as many hats as I could, as I had time to do. But because of various changes in that organisation, the nearest distribution centre or check-in centre from here was Chorley, which I thought was a bit of a challenge really to get there.
Yeah, not exactly handy for
I'll
you,
give that a miss, yeah.
You keep yourself very busy, don't you?
Yeah, but I've done, over the last few years, I've visited several countries which have been on my wish list for ages. So I went to, the first one I went to was America. I've been to America 5 times.
Five times?
And
what,
last
all
time,
the same part or different?
No.
But
the last time I was staying with a black lady called Mim, who was in her 70s, fit as a butcher's dog with a baseball cap and personal stereo. So we were on this train going to the Bronx, taking her grandson back, and all of a sudden the biggest black bloke I've ever seen in my life came up to me and he said, "Oh, are you Anne?" And I went, "Yeah, I am." "How do you know?" He said, "Because you're the only white woman on the train." So obviously he was a friend of Mim's, but I hadn't met him before, but yeah. So I did that, and then I went to Vietnam some years ago, where I was whisked off to dinner by a Russian diplomat on his motorbike, so that was all very exciting.
That's a bit like the meatloaf, where did that come from? Meatloaf, bat out of hell.
And then I went to Cuba, and then went to Singapore and Malaysia some years ago, and in Malaysia I met an artist, Frank Posh, P-A-S-C-H, who'd been interviewed by
somebody better than me, obviously.
Alan Wicker. Alan Wicker was doing a programme about expats who'd done really well. So they were from Leeds, him and his wife, gone to live in Australia and gone to, where they gone to? Singapore and Malaysia from there. So it was actually in Malaysia that I met him, and he did a photograph of me. And then he transferred that to a painting, so I've got that in my lounge. Wow. To the loveliest girl in Penang. So that was me.
This is where lovely comes from.
Well, indeed, yeah.
We can't attribute that to Gerald Brightly.
Not anymore, no. But yeah.
I mean, you've goodness me, there's so much to cram into a life there. What do you get out of coming to what must seem a fairly monotonous, boring place like Oldham Community Radio when you've been to Vietnam and America and Wicker?
And had dinner with Trevor MacDonald, I have to say.
Trevor McDonald?
Trevor
Really?
McDonald, yeah.
Really? Oh, yeah.
I was PA
How
to
did
the
that
race.
happen?
I was PA to the race relations officer for 14 years, and part of that involved being on first name terms with the local MPs, met various BBC personnel, involvement with local authority groups, and Trevor McDonald came from the same island, Trinidad, in the West Indies, where Andrew, my boss, came from. So he came up to speak to our annual general meeting, and I met him at Victoria Station, or Piccadilly Station, in a 10-year-old Volkswagen Beetle. And he got in, and I thought, oh, and McDonald's got a nice ring to it, but he was very happily married to wife number one at the time, so that didn't go anywhere.
He's the one that got away, is he?
He is, yeah.
What?
But yeah, he was fab.
Oh,
He's so nice.
It's nice when celebrities can be like
He was delightful, yeah.
What listeners and viewers won't know is that all the way through the last 2 years plus now, throughout the pandemic, Anne every Saturday has been here bright and early to clean and sanitise our premises, and does that on behalf of everybody, and thank you very much for doing that.
You're more than welcome. Keeping us all safe, I hope.
Exactly, yes, we hope so too. You're a bit of a, what's he called, Bruce Springsteen, the boss? Yeah, you're a bit of a boss fan, aren't you?
I am, yeah.
Why?
Why? Why? What a question. Why not?
Well, there you go. We'll answer a question with a question.
I was lucky enough to see him about 3 years ago at the Etihad with one of the other invigilators and his family.
Yeah.
Amazing. 3 hours without a break, without a support, anything. He was
true trooper.
Super duper, yeah.
So you've asked us to play for you Born to One, or even Born to Run. Bruce Springsteen. Thank you very much for joining us.
You're more than welcome.
Meet the face behind the voice.
I hope it doesn't disappoint.
He is the boss. Thank you, Anne Meridith. I'm in the presence now on the Radio Theatre stage by some, well, I could only say Oldham Community Radio royalty. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Posh Kev, no less. So if you want to see the face behind the voice,
well, that's it.
Who I have to say is one of probably the more refined voices on the station, then tune to mixcloud.com now and you'll probably be very disappointed. No, Kev, welcome to the programme.
Thank you.
Come on, Posh Kev, where did that come from?
Well, it all started with Colin Wilding, you know, our Colin.
Well,
years ago, I mean, I used to listen to the radio. You know, when we first moved over here to Manchester, I switched I thought, oh, this is a fabulous radio station, you know, and I put it on because I love this sort of music anyway. And Colin was on the Friday, you know, and anyway, I popped in as a visitor, and Barbara Digdon, she used to be presenter here with Colin, and I came over and popped into the studio to say hello, and told a few of my stories, you know, that I was a DJ years ago, and I did lots of things like, you know, the European East of England Dancing Championships and comparing and all that. So she said, right, you need to come to do the radio.
You're a candidate.
She said, you're a candidate. So I thought, well, would you like to come in? So I said, well, I'll have a go. You know, so she said, right, come in on when I'm on, and I'll put you on, and then I'll tell you what to do. So that's how it started,
it's
basically.
In the deep end in this place.
In the deep end,
usually,
yes,
yeah.
yes.
So
definitely.
I mean, going back to your disco days,
yeah.
Kev, I mean, I can't. I'm trying to imagine you with, because we said just before we came back on the programme that we both sport the, shall we say, the solar panel look.
Yeah.
Now, back in those days, you probably had. Did you have long blonde hair and
well,
I
had
like
blonde curly hair.
Oh wow! So you were a real DJ.
I was a real DJ. Yeah. In fact, we got a picture on Facebook of me when I used to work for Mecca. If a lot of the people will remember the Mecca organisation, and I worked at one of the dance halls where we had 2,500 people on a Monday and a Friday, you know, coming in, and I did the DJing there for them for about 3 hours, you know, and you can imagine what it's like DJing in front of 2,500 people, you know, but I got used to it in the end, and you get into a rhythm, you know, and it was all 60s and 70s and all that sort of stuff, you know. It wasn't the widest sort of stuff, but I used to meet do comparing. I met Jerry and the Pacemakers, I met Lulu, I met all those. I used to introduce all them on stage because they used to have all them.
So all those people, all those famous names that you just mentioned there used to come along to your
dance hall. Oh yeah. Yeah, I used to be on one side doing the DJing, and then we'd introduce, put your hands together with Jerry and the Pacemakers. And the stage used to twist around, and then the whole thing used to set off, and they was on then, and then after they'd finished, we used to go round again, and we'd carry on with the dancing sort of thing.
I've got to ask, on behalf of listeners, your accent, it's not a northern accent, is it?
No, it's a Lincolnshire.
You don't from Lincolnshire?
Yeah, okay. Lincolnshire actually.
Okay, so when did you move to this neck of the woods?
Well, I moved here about 22 years ago, I think it was. No, 25 years ago, I think I moved to Manchester. And I lived in Oldham for about 3 or 4 years. And of course, mother was ill, and I went back to Cleethorpes, where they were. And of course, mother passed away, unfortunately. And then 3 months later, father passed away. So I had to sort all that out, And then I brought my son over, and we set up here back in Oldham again. And then I moved to Stalybridge, which when we got a place there. And of course, that's how I started, basically, and then joining Oldham Community Radio through Barbara. She said, well, I'll have to ask Dave to see whether you can do a show, Anyway, she kept asking Dave, and Dave said, yes, go on. Let him have a go, So anyway, I had a go, and that was it. I'd got used to the equipment and all, because I've been used to DJing equipment.
Yeah, so it's fairly...
Yeah, technical equipment and all that sort of thing, so it's no, And
the wireless programme, obviously, that you now present on when?
We do it on a Monday. Well, it's 5 days a week, isn't it?
Yes, but you can be heard on
Monday with Maria Briley.
Yes.
And we do it alternately. Like she does 2 hours on the Monday, and I do 1 hour. Yeah. And then on the Thursday, I do the 2 hours, and she does the 1 hour.
Oh, so you've got it all off pat, haven't you?
Oh yeah.
It never ceases to amaze me with the wireless programme that listeners are just so quick to ring in and to treat you and, as you say, Maria and Colin and Frank and everybody else that's involved as friends.
Well, this is the idea.
What do you get out of being in the hot seat? How do you perceive the listeners what they get out of it?
Oh, it's fabulous. It's lovely to listen to when they ring in and they talk to you. I mean, in between times when we're not on air, we get phone calls and they talk to us, and lots of older people, they're lonely. And the only means of talking to people is via the Oldham Community Radio, Yeah. And we do talk to lots of people, we get involved with lots of people. Unfortunately, quite a few people have passed away, and we've been to the funerals and things like that. We get very involved,
One big family.
Yeah, as Dave will tell you, he goes to nearly all listeners' funerals when he can get there. And unfortunately, as we're getting older, and I mean, unfortunately 75 now.
What do you mean, unfortunately?
Unfortunately.
Spring chicken and all that. Meridith is about 150, but don't tell her that.
Oh, right, right. Yeah.
You've chosen a piece of music. The clock's our biggest enemy.
Yes, yeah.
You've chosen Doris Day.
Doris is my favourite.
Is she one of your sweethearts?
Yeah, definitely, yes. One of my major sweethearts.
Even before the disco days.
That's right, yeah. I used to play her then.
Que sera, sera. Whatever will be, will be.
Well, that's it, yes.
And I guess that's a very good sentiment. And, whatever will be is that Kevin will be back on Monday, I guess, won't you, on the wireless
certainly
program?
Will, yes.
Wonderful.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, for the moment, there you go, Posh Kev. Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you.
Lovely to see so many friends in the audience. We're going to be having a get-together afterwards, which is really nice to say thank you to all the volunteers here at Community Radio. But delighted to be joined on the stage, our final guest. This has been a rush round today, I'll tell you, but none more so for my final guest. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Clarence Bennett. This is a double shift, isn't it?
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
You were on air, as they say, earlier on at 11 o'clock this morning, weren't you, Clarence?
Certainly were, yeah.
The 60s programme.
Yeah,
Okay.
60s. I'm a 60s man. Well,
60s music.
yeah.
What? Go on. What's special about the 60s?
Well, I was brought up in the 60s. Well, not brought up in the 60s. I always say this, mate. Anybody lived through the 60s as a teenager, that's the best years of anybody's lives, teenagers' life. I've
Nobody
always
agrees
said,
with that.
because
I can see a few heads nodding, yeah.
everything was there for you. You know what I mean? Music-wise, you know, entertainment-wise, you know, everything was there. I go back to the 20s, the music.
You've got a very broad taste in music, Clarence, haven't you?
Yeah, I've got blues, I've got jazz, I've got, you know, soul, ska, reggae, I mean, when I was at school, I was buying them.
Because, of course, we should say, and it doesn't really need me to tell listeners, because you've got legions of fans that tune in to the soul programme as well. That's another string to your bow, isn't it?
Yeah.
How do you manage to kind of flip from one musical genre to the other? Is it quite easy? Is it just experience that lets you do that?
When you get used to it, you know, it's not hard, but when you get used to it, no, it's there. It's there, because when I used to get my pocket money, my 2 and 6.
2 and 6. 2 and 6. What's that?
Well, I believe it, my first wage was £3, 2 and 6.
And what did you do to earn that in those days?
Well, used to do the washing up, do the you know, to do a bit of ironing.
Yeah?
Yeah, you know what I mean, to earn some pocket money.
A jack of all
And then used to
trades.
take little bottles, you know, your pop bottles, take them back to the shop.
Do they still do that now?
No, they don't do that now. I don't think so, no.
Yeah, so people are missing out on opportunities and things like that. I'm sure there's somebody that maybe Oldham Community Radio should start to mass produce its own lemonade and get back. We'll be talking next week, incidentally, to some guests who in a kind of a roundabout way have done just that, but more of that later. Bowling. Every time I see you, you say, right, I'm off to a bowling tournament somewhere. How do you get involved in that?
It was about 1980, and went to my local club and I see these guys on a bowling green, and I said, can I have a go? I said, yeah. Show them what to do. So send the jack out, send the ball. He said, you're taking the mickey? I said, no. I said, I've never bowled before. He said, yeah. I said, no, I haven't. He said, I tell you what, there's a competition coming up next week, Sunday. Put your name down. So I put my name down. The draw was made. Said, you're drawing against a B-team bowler. I never bowled before, so I beat him. He said, why don't you sign on for the team? And that was it.
Was this kind of beginner's luck? Or
well, so you're natural. You know, and it comes natural to you, you know. So just from them, and I've won trophies, you know.
It keeps you healthy as well, I
It
suppose.
does, yeah. It keeps you walking up and down,
yeah.
Well, when I was a youngster, I used to say it's an old man game, but it's not. It's not, you know, when you come and think about it, because you're walking up and down, you're walking, you know what I mean? And, you know, I used to chase after the balls. I can't do it now.
No, err on the side of caution. Clarence, it's been an all too short a chance to meet you. Thank you very much for being with us. I know you want your choice of music, and how you've managed to choose out of the huge catalogue of interest. The Four Tops.
Four Tops,
and we'll play in a moment. For the moment, Clarence, everybody, thank you. Just before we go, it's been a slightly different version of Chance to Meet. We've not met Dave in the full sense of the word, but we've had the chance to meet 5 people. So 5 for the price of 1, as it were. As I said, next week we'll be joined by a local company at 12 noon who are into recycling in a big way, but they're combining it with charity work as well. So join us for that if you can next Saturday. I must say a huge thanks to our technical director, Phil Edmonds, everybody. Phil has been running around like a headless chicken since we learned of Dave's predicament early this morning. I hope you've enjoyed the programme. Keep listening to Oldham Community Radio from here in Wolston Home. Here's the Four Tops. Reach out, I'll be there. Bye for now.